Hey, 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 hey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to turn this music down a little bit. Hi, everyone, and welcome to DJs and Discussions. This is our virtual conversation series about life at Netflix. And this particular episode, episode 4, is about the Asian American and Pacific Islander experience. My name is Bao Nguyen. I'm a communications person here at Netflix, pronouns he, him, his. And before we get started, I know about y'all, we gotta catch our breath and take a moment to acknowledge that fire DJ set by DJ Das. So DJ Das is also known as Nina Das, and she's an HR business partner here at Netflix. And my goodness, there was some Bad Bunny in there. My absolute favorite Mariah Carey remix of all time, the Heartbreaker remix. And of course, rest in peace, baby girl Aaliyah. You can follow her on Instagram at I am DJ Das. And we just need more female DJs like that. We need more South Asian female DJs. So in your chat right now, show some more love, some more gratitude for DJ Das. Thank you, DJ Das. Yes, Heartbreaker remix for real. So that was the DJs part of DJs in Discussion. Now we're getting to the discussions part, which is going to be also fun. We have a lot to unpack about being Asian American and Pacific Islander, particularly in 2020, in our life, in our art, in our work. And though we wish we could do this in person, we're going to have this party on Zoom. So continue to light up that chat, because that's where the party's really at. And you can post on social if you're going to do that. The hashtag is hashtag DJs and Discussions and tag We Are Netflix. So let's jump off and get the conversation started. So I would like to introduce you to our guests. So my first guest works with me here at Netflix. She's a workers' compensation analyst. She's also a leader in our Asian American or Asian Employee Resource Group. It's called the Asian Employee Network. We had a Kiki last Friday, talked a lot about these issues that we're going to cover today, and it was the best part of my Friday. She has always bringing in the good vibes, always has the greatest energy and an insightful perspective. Everybody, please welcome Pankti Patel. Pankti, hi, how are you?
Hi.
And where are you joining us from?
I am joining from the very fancy apartment in LA, where I'm using an ironing board as my desk right now to get this lighting. So, definitely feeling the being versatile in a pandemic vibes today, and just so excited to be with all the people. Thank you for the intro, Bao.
No worries, Pankti. Loving your little plant mama, plant parent story going on in the background. And on to our second guest. She's a performer, writer, a producer. She recently portrayed Anna May Wong in the first Chinese American Hollywood star in Ryan Murphy's Hollywood, which, yes, is a series on Netflix. A little self-plug. I will always remember her in this iconic queer Asian American movie called Saving Face that came out in 2007, 1 year after I personally came out to my family. She played a lesbian Chinese American, and I remember I was in tears in that theater in the scene where she comes out to her Chinese mom, played by Joan Chen, mind you. If you've seen the film, show some love for the film in the chat. And in addition to these iconic characters, she's a storyteller. She's writing and producing a lot of her own projects, taking control of the narrative. She's experienced so much in Hollywood that can help inform how we move forward and how we can heal today. Everybody welcome Michelle Kruzik. Michelle, hello, how are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm great. I was jamming, and then I was like, I should just jam on camera because, we all need to kind of do this together. So that was an awesome way to get this started. Thank you.
Awesome. Where are you joining us?
Intro.
No worries.
I am in LA, and I'm in my my shared office space, and this side of the house never gets light. So hope you don't mind. I'm using a little bit of my artificial light here, but this is Zoom these days.
You look great as always, both of you.
Thank you.
So let's kick it off a little bit, a little icebreaker. Why don't we start with like how we identify as, and then we'll kind of go through the rest of the topics. And I can start. I identify as Vietnamese American. I identify as queer. In this little small close-knit circle of my chosen family, I identify as a Gaysian. Y'all can look it up. Pankti, how about you? How do you identify as?
I identify as Indian American, South Asian American, a daughter of immigrants. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Awesome. Hear you on that. How about you, Michelle?
I identify as Taiwanese American, API, Asian American, as an artist, as a mother, definitely as a actor, writer, director. It's a pretty complex identity.
Yeah, yeah, and I think what's so interesting to hear about how you both describe yourselves is, and myself, is there's the common thread of Vietnamese American, Taiwanese American, Indian American, and the common thread is we identify as Asian American. And it reminds me of something I heard in the beginning of the pandemic. I cannot find who said it, but the quote went something like, "You're not born Asian American, you become one. You decide to become one." Like, it's a statement when you call yourself an Asian American. So I want to use that as a jumping point to tell us a little bit about your past and upbringing and what led you here today to say, I identify as Asian American. And Michelle, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. For me, my origin story it's a little bit confusing, but the short of it is that I came from Taiwan. Originally, at the age of 5, I was adopted by my aunt and uncle. And so I was, at that time, giving your kids away was actually kind of common because of, poverty and economic reasons. And for my family, they really did send me to America so that I could get an American education. And my mother was, my birth mother was 16, so she had, she had a lot of kids for being a teenager, and it was the smartest decision. And it really kind of gave me my perspective in life, which is the immigrant working class perspective, which is I came to America with the purpose of doing something with my life. And honestly, since I was a child, that was always my outlook, is that I had to not only have a purpose, but that I really needed to use my potential to do something good with it. And that has really shaped everything I've done.
Yeah, I totally hear you on that. My parents, Vietnamese refugees, there's that intersectionality too, right? Of like being an Asian American and American, but also having an immigrant experience. Pangti, how about you? What is your journey to the proclamation of Asian American?
I mean, obviously, although not similar to Michelle, I think there's still that same kind of what drives you feeling. But, I was born here. I always saw myself as American. But I grew up because my parents had both immigrated here not long after they got married, kind of asking myself like, oh, how come I just saw the Minari trailer, but like, yeah, why doesn't my grandma bake cookies? There's so many little things where I was like, at home, I just feel Indian. And then at school, I just feel American. And you just kind of have like one foot in one door, one foot in the other. And we just are in that like little hyphen there. So especially where I grew up, from Cerritos, if you're from Southern California, you already know 90% plus Asian, East Asian, South Asian, Pacific Islander. I never thought of myself as a minority. And then I went to UC Santa Barbara. So the script totally flips after that. And you just kind of understand, or at least for me, how important that community really was, where my shift kind of changed from I'm American to no, I'm Asian American, and I need to own that.
Yeah, Bhakti, I totally relate to that. I'm from the San Gabriel Valley, which is a community in Southern California that's also about 90% Asian. And I was culture shocked my first day at college at the University of Southern California, USC. I was also coming to terms with my sexuality at the time. And I was like, this is different, everybody. This is very different. And I think we touched on intersectionality of the Asian American experience, but it's also the diversity, right? The three of us here, I represent Vietnamese American, Michelle, Taiwanese American, and you, Pangti, Indian American, but there's so much more diversity, so many more perspectives that aren't on this panel. I just want to make sure I call that out and give some love to, our Hapas, our trans and non-binary folk, our Pacific Islander folks. And everyone here in the Zoom, why don't you sound off in the chat and let us know kind of what identity you're representing and what you identify as. All right, so now I'm going to move on to talking about this exact moment. The last 3 months of 2020, October 1st started today. And I wanted to check in on this heart, like to check in on your heart, check in on your spirit. and how you're doing in that regard. And Pankti, let's start with you. Like, how are you doing? How's everything going?
I feel like when someone asks me like, how are you? It's like, in this moment, fine. In general, eh. And I'm sure we can all agree, it's been now 7 months, I haven't really left my apartment much. My whole life is completely different. I saw Alex saying like, is this the pregame? Let's go out after this. And I miss just having regular plans. But at the same time, like I'm shocked at and grateful, I think is a good word too, at how quickly, we were able to change our lives, switching to a virtual environment, keeping on with working, resuming production. And then also just like the connection that I think I've been able to really gather with my community, with the Asian employees at Netflix, but also friends, family, people that I've lost touch with. It's pros and cons for sure to the whole situation.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Absolutely. Michelle, how are you doing during this time?
Well, I have kids. I have two little ones, they're 6 and 3. So I feel like I am in a different kind of pandemic state because, as a parent, you have to choose, can I be productive or do I be a parent? Must I, how can I do that life balance in a pandemic state? And it's really impossible. It really does feel like it's impossible. So, it's a real test of your emotional resilience, and then what time you are allotted, how you use that time. And, for me, checking in with the world it's a luxury. A lot of times, this right now is a luxury. The fact that I get to spend this time with you all is really a choice of being away from my kids and, making sure that they're doing their work. So it's helping me put into perspective what my priorities are and how much I value my time and the simple things in life that we do at the end of the day, really appreciate having when we get to do them.
Yeah, and it's one thing I've learned in 2020 is to start accepting things that just aren't in my control. And that's just reality now. And every time though I get comfortable, like, okay, I've accepted that and something else happens. But what I've learned about myself is eventually, we can arrive to a place of positivity. And so I'm wondering, Michelle, like what is one positive thing that you've learned during this quarantine?
I feel like people's resilience. I've been really impressed with people I'm checking in. Almost everyone is in a space of gratitude, and if people are able to give and help others, I'm finding that people are really able to create a community for themselves and for people who might need some help. And I can see that it's really bringing out a lot of people's ability to tap into resources for themselves and for others. So that's really been inspiring to see that.
Absolutely. And then Pankti, same question, like what's something positive or something you've learned?
So I got a dog in March or in April. And I think I've learned how important it is like to take care of yourself and to take care of something else that's like living and breathing and relies on you. Not even close, Michelle, to having an actual child and being the housekeeper and the teacher and the mom and the working adult and I 1000% give kudos, especially to all the parents that I work with closely and in general. But it's just like that, taking that time to care about something other than yourself. It's so important.
Yeah. And I've been pouring my time, and I live alone. I don't have kids, so I do it. And I have a lot of friends who have kids, and it's really tough right now. I've decided to go the plant route. And so there's a couple of these plants here. They're my babies. Very low maintenance. I might just take it up a notch, but we'll see how long this the state that we're in lasts. Yeah. Talking about like states that our community in that last a little bit too long, or topics that we are going to discuss for a while. My first topic that we want to talk to you about is representation. So representation of Asian Americans in this country. And maybe I'll start with first, Asian American representation in the media and in entertainment. It's something that I've definitely thought about and have talked about for more than a decade. So it just seems there's a lot that's persistent. It's always going to be here. And so Michelle, I know that this is something that you deal with, have thought about and talked about for a while. what are your thoughts on Asian American representation in the media and entertainment, just from your vantage point as an artist, as an activist, and as a performer?
Yeah, it's yeah, I don't think it's a question I'll get tired of, because I think we're just not in that place in history yet where we should tire of it. And obviously, not to ratchet things up, but with BLM, I mean, it's really important because for me, a representation, I always thought it was this insular thing, like, oh, it's something that I'm just experiencing. But the more we talk about it, the more I realize how universal it is and how it's experienced through so many different marginalized communities. And finally, I'm able to, relay an experience that feels very, very specific and universal, which is kind of like the ideal paradigm for an artist and a storyteller to be able to contribute to the conversation. So it's really important. And whenever I can weigh in and, help that conversation get deconstructed, I always feel both the tremor of excitement and the trepidation of like, oh, this is the time to make change happen. And we all know it's very slow, but it's good to be having this conversation.
Yeah. And it's 2020. A lot of people have said, look, there's Crazy Rich Asians. Look, there's The Farewell. And to some point, there's Mulan. How are you feeling about this particular topic just today in this day and age?
Overall, I think it's very easy to latch onto a point of view that feels like this is the correct one. And I am not somebody who wants to assign blame or accusation. I just don't think that we're quite there in the space of mainstream audiences to really start taking things away. I think it's actually more important that we are putting things into the pot, because I think that is the complexity of our community. And the fact that we haven't had a space to talk about ourselves publicly, I think it's more important that we have visibility and to have those conversations. Because I think when people who are not within our community see how complex it is, it allows us an ability to have more of a voice and to contribute to that space. So I think it's all great to have these complexities because, we are full of contradictions. And I think that is where everyone connects, is that universality of feeling, like, oh, I am this and I am that, and it doesn't quite make sense.
Super plus one. Sorry, I just wanted to say, like, I think it's not just like being able to see it and acknowledge it, but process it internally too. These feelings that some of us haven't even dealt with yet or haven't had the opportunity to deal with.
Yeah, and then go ahead, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. And sometimes those, sometimes movies, as crazy as it is, but I don't think it's crazy because it's my industry, it allows us something to project onto and talk about. We may be talking about Mulan, but we're really talking about the space of Asians versus Asian Americans, or free speech in China versus speech here. It gives us a platform in which we can converse the ideology of what that actually represents for us. So I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things, like, it when you see it. So I think you mentioned the Minari trailer, right? Like, I think I've got that sent so many times to me in different message groups and group texts of, like, definitely people crying.
How many people cried?
No.
I mean, it was the music. It was all of it, right? It was
yeah.
the salt of emotions. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm crying. I know everybody's crying.
It's feeling seen even when someone doesn't look like you, because their story is something that you feel inside. And like growing up, not really having a lot of representation of something that looked like me, it's so wonderful now to see more and more of it. But I still want more. Oh, like by thousands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the two words that I got a lot of in those group texts were crying or can't stop crying. Then, of course, just grandma, just one word, grandma. Like, just the portrayal of that grandma, everyone latched onto. And I think it's just amazing what the image, the sound of that, and just something in a trailer could do to you. So I'm super excited for that movie. I think equally important to discuss is not just representation on screen. We need more representation at work, right, in corporate America. And so I want to switch to you, Pankti, to talk a little bit about representation in the workforce, because when we look at the numbers, the representations of Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders in different industries are mixed, right? So you can argue we're overrepresented in the tech industry, but we're underrepresented in entertainment and the arts. So what does that tell you about representation in the corporate world and what we need to do about it as people who work at these companies?
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a really interesting question. I think it's like, if we step back and look at Asian American immigration history, speaking from like my own personal experience, my parents are one of many people with elite education that were allowed to immigrate into America in the first place. So you had like that whole wave of the doctors, the lawyers, the engineers that came here and really, instilled it into their children's minds, like, this is the path that you must take. And then you have the people like me, where around like 16, 17 years old, I was like, wait a second, I suck at science and I am much more passionate about liberal arts, which I know you don't know what that is, but I will pursue this regardless. And I knew, like, even for me right now in my current job, I found something where it's something my parents can understand, workers' comp and the adjacents to like healthcare and medical field, but it's also something where I get to be adjacent to production and entertainment. And I do, like there's a current influx of everyone with H-1Bs being able to work in Silicon Valley. There's like so many levels to why we are overrepresented in tech. Yet at the same time, it's hard to say like, I'm going to be successful in entertainment when I don't even have someone, until recently, like Bella, when I don't really have someone who's already doing it. And it's hard to like project that I can make it in this space when I don't know anyone else who's doing it and I don't know how to support my own dreams with it. But yeah, at the same time, like, that's why we have to do it. That's why we need Michelle and we need the Baos and we need the Punkties to become those in the future too.
Yeah, no, and I'm also inspired by Bella. And for everyone who's joining us, Bella Baharia is our head of TV here at Netflix in a new role. And before that, she served as the head of local language originals. So brought you all the fun stuff like Kingdom and La Casa de Papel that you see in other languages that are not English. Well, I'm also interested in Bangti. What advice you would give the AAPI folks who want to enter these industries? Like, what's your biggest learning?
My biggest learning is, if you're scared or if you have anxiety over it, like, use that and leverage it. I remember when I was interviewing at Netflix, I like told myself every single day, like, wow, I'm so lucky to even be interviewing because there is no way I'm getting this job. And no, like, you have to come in with that confidence, and whatever it is that's stopping you, you need to ask, like, why not me? If it's going to be someone, it might as well be me. So figure out what it is that drives you, that is your passion, and push yourself to do it, because we need you. Like, that's really what it is. We can't just do it on our own.
Yeah, and also just get the right experience. And I hate to say that because it sounds so vague, but in my own personal story, I went to USC. I was a film minor, and when I realized that if you wanted to and I wanted to work in the entertainment industry, that I would have to do a bunch of unpaid gigs for a while. I'm like, how am I going to pay off $90,000 in student debt working unpaid gigs? And so I just worked at a PR agency and did like biotech PR. And I learned so much. I just learned so much about the PR industry, about what to do when stuff goes wrong. And then in a roundabout way, in different places, I ended up here at Netflix. And so, and it is funny working in this corporate world, because it's not like someone comes in and says, this is what happens, right? My parents are definitely working class, blue collar. And so, every new job I get, they always ask, like, are there other Vietnamese people there? And the question they like to ask also is like, are the white people nice there, right? And so it's not something I think about, but just from their worldview, coming in this country and working kind of working class jobs, being in this corporate world is so kind of foreign to them. And so I just try to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, and speaking of experience, like, it's never too late. If it's something that you want to do, think about how you can take the experience you already have and then apply it into the industry you want. I worked in auto risk management before this. It had nothing to do with entertainment. There's no reason why you don't already have transferable skills, and there's no reason why, like, your age or anything like that should stop you from pursuing your dream.
Absolutely. Okay, so I think talking about representation is super important because of the kind of year that we're in. A lot of images, a lot of headlines about Asian people that are tied to the coronavirus. There's a rise in anti-hate incidents against Asian Americans, bias against Asian Americans. And I want to make sure we talk about the xenophobia that's just a reality for a lot of us living in America right now. Michelle, I'd like to start with you. It's rough living through this. What have been some of the revelations that you've had about this topic during this time?
It's such a hard topic. You know, I have to be honest that when I started hearing about, you know, obviously Trump's identification with the virus with Chinese people and Chinese Americans, API in general. Sorry, my mom is calling me. She never calls me, so I'm like, oh, I hope she's okay.
No worries.
But I sadly wasn't surprised. You know, I feel like our status in America is always contingent on something. And it's so easy for us to get the rug pulled from under us. And I'm not surprised by that. Like, oh, of course we're gonna get blamed or identified with the virus. And now there's this huge anti, Chinese movement against us. And so that was sort of my first reaction, which was very illuminating for me because it's sad for me that I have a little bit of a numbness when it comes to just how deeply racism is in this country. And I often don't know what to do myself because I do see it as a disease and I don't know how to eradicate it from somebody who is racist. But one of the things that, not to denigrate, Andrew Yang, who's actually, somebody I do know, but he put out that statement that it's up to us to be better. And that was when I was like, whoa, dude, that is not the way to go. It is not up to us to prove ourselves. And I had this my shackles, and I know Andrew, and I know that that wasn't his intention, but everything in my system was like, that is the paradigm I just came out of for like 30 years of my life, thinking if I can just prove myself as better, if I can just be better, achieve, succeed, I'm going to finally make it. And, that was really, eye-opening for me. And I saw that the community really kind of reared up, and that was really I was encouraged by that because I could hear so many voices saying, no, that's not the way it goes. And what I really did see was, the establishment of allies through all this. And that's the most important thing, is to get allies and to integrate ourselves with other communities so that we can have intersectionality. And really find a collective empowerment together.
I agree. That's incredibly powerful. Also, Michelle, you can't be on an Asian American panel and not pick up a call from your mom. Everyone in this chat is like, pick up the call from your mom. If you want to take a second, go ahead.
No, she's been playing mahjong and is driving my brother. They live together, my brother and her, and my brother is driving. He's going crazy because she keeps going out to play mahjong. and he's like, you're gonna kill me with the virus with your mahjong games. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
Yeah. No, maybe we can have a session later on where we talk about how we keep our Asian parents indoors during the coronavirus. They don't listen to us.
I thought you were going to say maybe we can do an online game of Mahjong Bao.
Oh, I suck at Mahjong, but you guys would probably kill it. But Pankti, so sorry to steer us back on this topic. The South Asian community, no stranger to the xenophobia in the past decade, right? In the last 2 years. So I would love to hear about what your observations have been about xenophobia in the past few years and with recent events.
Yeah, I think it's really tough to talk about it in a way that, will make, I don't know. It's hard to talk about it. That's really a big thing. In the South Asian community, like you said, decade, I would almost argue past 2 decades, post 9/11, rising hatred against South Asians, and in 2012, Oak Creek, were horrible just time that we saw. And I think something that I'm just going to be openly critical about my own community here is, like Michelle said, I saw as a kid like this separation or like this distinction. We're South Asian. We're not Muslim. We're not Islamic. Like, don't target us. It was just, it's horrible because you're like, you know, why are we thinking this way when it should be, where's the hatred coming from? What's the source of the hatred? I remember with Oak Creek, you know, we found out that violence against the Sikh community is not even something that gets recorded. It's not even something that would be denounced. And these are still things like today that, you know, the rising hate crimes or hate incidents that we're seeing against like our East Asian friends and community, it's not being denounced. There's no one saying like, you can't go up to a girl eating at a restaurant in Orange County and berate her and have any consequences. So, you know, my question is, are we focusing on, you know, our communities and saying like, oh, we're not, you know, them, don't target us, target them? Or are we thinking the bigger picture? Where is it coming from? Who are the people in power that can fix it? And kind of like Michelle said too, you know, if our allyship is only about our community and it's not about every other minority, especially Black lives, like what is it for? Because I don't want to jump into all the model minority myth stuff right now because we only got 22 minutes. But like model minority in itself was something that a white sociologist decided was the ranking. These are the good minorities. These are the not good minorities. These are the ones we'll approve mortgage loans for. And these are the ones that will get the jobs. And then everybody else, oh, you're not working hard enough. Sorry. So it's so convoluted, and it's so important for every single person to just think like, what am I doing as an ally? That constant action. I don't get a sticker for posting a black square on my Instagram and talking to an echo chamber of my followers. Like, what more can you do?
I know, and all the more important in a year like this. And I'm glad you dropped model minority myth because that chat is popping right now. It is a trending topic for sure. And we can go back to unpacking a lot more of this type of discussion, but I thought we'd take a really quick break and ask you a few fun questions in the form of a lightning round. So it'll be pretty easy. I'll ask a question and you just give a short answer, except that everyone who's on the Zoom right now gets to participate and answer as well. So does that sound good by you, Michelle, Pankti, people in the chat?
Yep.
All right, okay. So I'll ask the question and the attendees in the chat, y'all can answer first. And then we'll go to either Michelle or Pankti. All right, first question, most iconic Asian character. What do you have for us, chat? Most iconic Asian character.
Make sure you have your two set to all panelists and attendees so everyone can see the answer. Because I feel like I'm just seeing things that are being sent to me directly.
Got Bruce Lee, Lucy Liu, and Charlie's Angel, iconic. Mulan, Yojimbo, Lucy Liu and Charlie's Angels again.
Bruce. Yes.
Yes. Mr. Miyagi. Jackie Chan. All right, well, Michelle, what do you think is the most iconic Asian character?
Well, you know, for me, since I just played her, to me, it was Anna May Wong. But honestly, yes. I think that feels like not in my generation. It feels like something that's just historically. But I was thinking like Harold and Kumar. Like, to me, those are iconic characters. Mm-hmm. Like, those guys are it.
You know, I'm gonna say Will Pang from Saving Face, but you already know that, Michelle.
Oh, yay to Will.
And Hello Kitty.
Definitely see some Joy Luck Club. I mean, Joy Luck Club was pretty huge.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Pankti?
I saw mine in the chat. It's gotta be Claudia Kishi for me. I talk about like from when I could read to very recently on the service. Like, she is an icon.
Absolutely. I don't know how I finished that thing in one night once in the entire season, but it was so good.
I watched
and
it.
Claudia's story is so good. Yeah. And I cried almost every episode on the verge of tears.
Do you feel like you're crying more like in pandemic, or just has always been like this? I'm crying more.
Always been a crier, extra crier now for sure.
Extra.
All right, next lightning round question for the chat. What's your favorite ugly yet delicious Asian food? Balut.
Oh, Balut came in
Or
strong.
Sushi.
seaweed. Oh, Tina Kwan. Taiwanese sausage with fresh garlic.
Sausage.
Wow, we
That's
got a lot of
very
we got a lot of Filipino Americans up in here, huh? Kimchi. I was waiting for the stinky tofu because that's my favorite. All right, Pankti, what about you?
Okay, this is a very specific experience though, so bear with me. You know, when you go to Sindavu and they bring out the banchan, and then there's that fish, that mackerel, that's just like looking at you with its dead eye. So good. Ugly yet delicious.
So good. How about you, Michelle?
Pregnant fried fish. Oh, that's a good one. I'm starting to get hungry, you guys. I saw mine. Mine was chicken feet. I remember eating chicken feet, and I had an Irish boyfriend at the time who came from a farm. He just said, "You would never eat that if you've been on a farm." And I was like, "You really ruined this for me." But
Yeah.
chicken feet.
Yeah, you would definitely eat it if you went to dim sum every Sunday with your family when you were a kid. So I know miss dim sum. Takeout's not the same. All right, next question. Oh, go ahead, Bhakti.
I was just gonna say, I need her to yell at me like, which one do you want? And I'm like, that one.
Absolutely. All right, so
Are you talking about the servers at dim sum that yell
the
at you? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're always so angry.
Yeah, I'm
They're
like,
so
oh my God,
angry.
just put it on the table. I will pay for it. I will eat it.
Like pro tip, go with a Cantonese speaking friend. That's what I always did. Okay, I'm gonna do 2 quick questions. So maybe this one's just for you both, and then the chat can chime in. Favorite K-pop group?
So I had a favorite K-pop band in high school. It's old one, DBSK. I was like 16 years old, and I was like, oh my God,
it in this
they're
chat.
beautiful. Oh yes, DBSK, Cassiopeia stand up.
How about you, Michelle?
I'm so square, you guys. I'm a parent, and I honestly like. I mean, I know BTS because they're BTS, but I don't actually know them. If that makes any sense, and I haven't really been caught up. I mean, someone sent me Blackpink a while ago, but I don't want to lead you astray. I really am not caught up with my K-pop. Sorry.
No worries. You got a lot of love for K-pop in the chat.
I will say it's wild, like as a high schooler having to like download songs illegally, and like now they're getting them at the VMAs. I'm just like, what? I went through a war for this. Like,
yeah. But there's definitely a lot of Blinks and ARMY in this chat. So, thanks for humoring me on this lightning round. All right, let's jump to the kind of the last few questions before we jump into the questions that everyone submitted. So I think we touched on this a little bit in the last question, right? It's a transformative, that's putting it lightly, year for everyone. It's especially true for our Black and Latinx and Indigenous family, particularly Black folks. And I think as Asian Americans, like for me personally, I'm reevaluating how I can be a stronger ally. I'm facing the brutal truth about racism within my own kind of Vietnamese American community. So I want to make sure we have a space to talk about allyship. And I think since you mentioned it, Pankti, about BLM and allyship, what's the role of allyship in your life, and how have you seen it play out within the walls of Netflix?
So to answer like the first part of your question, the role of allyship in my life, I think for a long time, I thought of myself as like, you're a woman of color. I feel like, oh, I definitely need allies. I'm the one who needs to be brought up. And then, recently it's really reevaluating like the privileges that I do have. Someone with an education, grew up in middle class, accessibility, able to read. There's so many other ways that you have privilege. And I think even just being Asian in itself is a privilege. Like no one's ever followed me around in a store before. So I think it's really making that migration of like, do I need an ally, or do I need to be the ally and be the accomplice and figure out what can I do with these privileges rather than just acknowledge it. And Acknowledge it and educate myself, but beyond that, like where's the action, what can I kind of do with that. And then specifically, I think at Netflix, which has been like the most eye-opening thing to me, is being able to just talk to my colleagues and my peers in a way where I know I can just be open and honest, and we're all learning from each other. It's so important to do that. It's just never too late.
Yeah, and I totally relate to that, right? It's just, there's a lot of work to do, and I put in the work, right? I'm not going to ask people what I should be doing. But some of the recommendations help, right? It's the soul searching, and that you may think you're never going to get it perfectly right.
Yeah.
And being able to admit that to yourself is hard, but also freeing in a way.
My favorite thing someone has said is just google.com. It's still free. Use it.
Definitely. Michelle, so what is the role of allyship in your life and in the community that you come from of artists and performers?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been connected to this word because I've always been, I've been in the industry for a long time now. And I understand what it feels like to not have any kind of allies, mentorship, a community that can help guide you through, because I know early on in my career, I tried to look for mentors, tried to understand like how to embrace what my role was going to be as an API performer. Found very, very few. And the ones I did find didn't feel confident enough to guide me because they were struggling as well. And so allyship, it has this bigger theme. And then personally, it's always been for me to try and champion others, try to create space for others. And in an arena that at least I know I can speak from and bring that authenticity to that space. I don't want to speak to that space without at least acknowledging, like whether or not I do have the experience or not. So I am particular as to how I want to represent myself within certain spaces. And with BLM, I feel like part of it is educating myself, making sure that I understand what the conversation is. And that's been new for me because I think I had some certain assumptions about how I was connected. And now I realize I think I haven't really been doing the work. As much as I think I am, there's always more to do. And then on a broader scale in terms of allyship and talking about it as a woman of color and BIPOC is just simply that, the civil rights movement for, Black Americans right now is giving us this ability to talk about ourselves, about our Chineseness, about whatever your identity is. It's giving us that platform. And the work that they are doing is something that we have to support because it is giving us all visibility. And while I don't think that we are sometimes part of the conversation as API, because we're often in this rung of it's always, Blacks, LGBTQ, Latinx. And then I sometimes I'm like, and Asian, and Asian, and for me, it's just that kind of speed bump sometimes of like, our community has been so misinterpreted with that model minority myth and whiteness, that we're somehow naturally a part of the white community, which is so not true. Sorry, I'm kind of going off here, but for me, it's just about how to use allyship to support others and improve our own abilities to speak for ourselves through that, through allyship.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think
because I think we're a young voice still, I guess is what I'm saying. I think we're still a young community that's just learning to exercise our voice. And I think we have to look at other communities, see how they're using their voice, and learn from them and stand with them. Because it's a long journey. Change is, change is not going to happen.
Yeah, and it's only recently that we even have the words to talk about this in our communities. It's only recently that we know and understand to the extent that we do this idea of allyship. And Michelle, you talk about using our voice, and that's kind of the last topic I want to talk about before we get into the questions, is finding your voice and making your own space. And Michelle, a lot of people know the iconic roles that you've played, but you're also a storyteller. You're also an artist. You have this one women theater show called Made in Taiwan. You're working on some other projects. Talk to us about your journey of finding your voice and your journey as a storyteller.
Yeah, I started in Los Angeles in '98, and I was developing a solo show at that time that really was my business card into the industry. A lot of people saw it. It went to some very good festivals, and I was courted around some very big established folks in in Hollywood to turn my material into a TV series. And I was courted by a lot of producers, and a lot of them were just white men that were trying to help me tell my story. And what I learned from that is they're not the right people. I have to be able to tell my own story. And also it was a very different climate then. So, just timing wise, it was almost like the material was a little bit too progressive especially for TV at the time. TV is such a different space now. But it taught me a lot in terms of having some IP, that belongs to me, that I can have ownership over, and gives me some access as to, this is going to be what I do bring to the table, and how I tell it as a story is going to be my strength as a director now. And that's where I'm moving into, is writing and directing. And I think now with, words like authenticity being bandied about, I think that in order for us to really allow artists an ability to tell their stories and have them bring something really personal to the space is going to be one of our biggest tools, that we have to take advantage of that. The time for you to speak up, tell your story, however it comes out. You don't have to necessarily be like a storyteller in a traditional sense. You can do it obviously like what Punkti is doing with her work, and you and the rest of the community. But if you have something that feels authentic to you, find a way to create visibility out of it for yourself. I think I feel like we need it in the landscape, and we need it in the culture.
Absolutely, and can't wait to see kind of what you're working on. I think you and I just saw this on your Twitter account. Directing is kind of the new thing that you're picking up to be able to make this storytelling a reality. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, I really saw the writing on the wall when I was approaching my 40s. Is that for women over 40, there just isn't much complexity being offered to you as an actress. And I started to see like, oh, that's what happened to all those wonderful, actresses. It's not like they retired. They just weren't being given the opportunities to play complex roles. And there's generally like an echelon of people that keep getting the repeat opportunities over and over again. And I felt like it was time to really try and make something more impactful. And as an actor, I don't mind stepping into other people's stories, but I feel like there's a void and there's a need for us to tell our own stories right now. And that's what's calling me. And, as much as I've grown up off of, Indiana Jones and 16 Candles, and maybe I'm dating myself, but all of these movies that I grew up with, I could always identify them, but I still don't see ourselves in those kinds of films still, and I really want to, have a hand in showing our stories and showing how they are universal and how non-Asians can identify with us, so that's kind of what's driving me right now.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you have in store. And I totally relate to that in that, growing up Vietnamese American, your identity was always tied to these screaming children of Vietnam War movies, right? That Americans have made. And so it's like the American version of the Vietnam War. And it's just kind of recently that you started to see a lot more Vietnamese Americans kind of telling their own stories. And, I think this dovetails a little bit into kind of the question I want to ask Punkti, which is finding your voice in the corporate world, finding your voice in a company, There's just so many important contributions that you've made to the culture and to the community here at Netflix for Asians and Pacific Islanders. So why don't you talk a little bit about finding your voice in the workplace?
Yeah, I always struggle kind of with the idea of finding your voice. Like everyone who knows me, they know I'm very loud. I always have something to say. I'm super opinionated with my peers. And then I like code switch in the office where I'm like, ooh, if I'm not 100% confident or even 20% confident, I'm not going to say it. And it was something that I've really kind of been struggling with in the workplace is like, how do I nurture that feeling of like, okay, you should just say something if you feel like you need to say something. It's so much worse to just hold it in and sit there and then see something go wrong and being like, oops, probably should have said something. And I think the really great thing that's kind of been very nurturing for me in the last like year and a half is I'm always told here, like if you see a gap, if you see something missing, like go fill it. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for someone else to tell you about it, because there are certain gaps that you're only going to see. And that's why it's important, you know, to have so many diverse people that you work with. And I don't just mean diversity in terms of like the color of our skin or a region that we come from, but like your age, your background, where you went to school, if you went to school, like so many other things that contribute to it. And then on the other side, you know, there's this article that we just read with AEN about like how Asian women in the workplace are perceived as like being more docile and quiet and hardworking. And these are all like ideas that are, you know, in its sense could be positive, but are very negative and hurtful when you're not being asked like, what's your opinion on something or being included in conversations. So, you know, don't feel like you have to be the loudest person in the room. If like written communication is your forte, like send the memos out, send emails out, find a way to use your voice that you already have to your advantage rather than doing nothing at all. If you can, take your time with it. But if you can, yeah.
Yeah, the code switching, I definitely am guilty of doing, just especially beginning in my career. Like, I never really had role models who had a corporate job. So when I first got my first job in a company, I'm like, people are rewarded for speaking a certain way and presenting their ideas a certain way. So I literally just kind of latched onto that and pretended to be that that's the way I expressed myself. And it's only at this company in the last few years where I've been able to like, no, I'm going to, you know, how I want to respond to this email with an emoji, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to respond with a GIF, and it'll be clear what the feedback is, and I'm just going to do it because that's more me. And so I'm grateful for having had to go through that journey to be able to kind of find my voice, just presenting things the way I want to present them.
Mm-hmm. But I want to just kind of really shout out to, like, it's not just from yourself. It does come from having like the support with your team and the trust where, you know, I personally, if I'm having difficulty expressing something, I find that in meetings, someone will ask me, Punkti, what do you think? And that's like that opportunity. And I think I try to do the same in other situations as well.
Yeah, and we talked about this, Punkti, where it's like sometimes people use these idioms that are obviously been in the white world for a while. Like,
what do they mean?
What do they mean, right? Like, so I think we'll do that as a canary in a coal mine. I'm like, what the F is a canary in a coal mine? And then I used to have to look it up and they'd be stressed that I didn't know what it meant until I said, like, what did you mean? And then I was like, why didn't you just say that, right?
Why don't you just say what you mean? Like,
just say what you mean, please. For real. All right. I know we're wrapping up in time, and I think we covered a lot of the topics that are in the questions. So I'll end with 2 lightning round questions to close us off, and the chat can join in, but I'll ask you both. The first is, what Asian Instagram are you most obsessed about and why? And Punkti, I'll start with you.
Eva Chen. She posts like 60 stories a day, and I watch every single one.
How about you, Michelle?
You know, I wouldn't have said it, but you're right. She's really good. She's really, really good. You know, I'm sorry. I'm going to have to hop on that one. I'm going to go with that one too.
We love
you know, what's so funny? This is how Asian I am. You know, sorry guys, but Bao sent us a little breakdown of what he was going to go over, but I actually skipped your questions so that I didn't prepare in advance. I was like, I'm not going to look at that because I wanted to be spontaneous. So those little popcorn questions, I'm going to make sure. So Yeah, I'm gonna go with Eva Chen.
No, whatever method works for you, Michelle. You're the one who gets the most iconic roles. All right, so last question, and then we're gonna say goodbye to everybody. What is your current Asian heartthrob?
I mean, as a brown girl, obviously it's gonna be Hassan Minhaj. Like, love
That
him.
hair.
That hair, that smile, those hand motions.
Yeah. What about you, Michelle?
See, now I should have researched these questions. My Asian heartthrob. Oh gosh, I've been seeing some really hot guys lately. You know who I'm really interested in seeing. Oh my gosh, I knew it. This is going to happen to me. You know, he's going to be in the Marvel. He's going to be in the superhero film, the Shang-Chi.
Simu.
Yeah. Who? Yeah. Simu. Is it Simu?
Oh,
Yeah, Simu Liu.
Yeah, Simu Liu. Sorry.
the chat's gotcha.
Yeah, I was like, no, I don't think Stephen Yeun's going to be in it. Yeah, Simu. Yeah, I mean, to me, he's just got this like wonderful presence, and he's got a great body, and but you know, charisma goes a long way for me.
Yeah, he's got it for sure. My answer to that one is Ross Butler, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. And a good note to wrap on. Yeah, he's in 13 Reasons Why. All right, that's a good note to wrap on. I want to thank DJ Das again. Again, follow her at I am DJ Das. Pangti, Michelle, it was such a pleasure getting to know you through this chat. You've been so generous with your time, with your spirit, and we're all the better for it. So thank you both.
Thank you.
Everyone in the chat.
Amazing. Kudos to Bao, you guys. What a fucking moderator.
What a great moderator you are, Bao.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's my
Thank you both. I joked that I wanted to bring honor to my company, so I hope I did. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much. That was definitely where the party was at. If you want to connect with us, follow us on LinkedIn and on Twitter and Facebook. We're at We Are Netflix. Hashtag again is DJs and Discussions. For those who celebrate it, happy Autumn Festival. Happy Tet Jungtu. Be safe and stay well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.